A sailing yacht is drifting off the coast of Spain, taking on water fast. The crew felt the first blow against the hull without warning, then another. Below the surface, something is deliberately targeting the one part of the boat that makes it steerable. The crew are rescued by a passing tanker, the yacht goes to the bottom. And the culprits are not a storm or a reef, or human error. They are 15 killer whales, and marine biologists know every single one of them by name. For 6 years now, this small group of orcas has been sinking boats, and the reason why has become one of the most debated mysteries in modern animal behavior. Stay with me, because the leading explanation is far stranger than revenge. It started in May of 2020 in the Strait of Gibraltar. That narrow channel is the gateway between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. It's busy with shipping, it's popular with sailors, and it sits directly on the migration route of the Atlantic bluefin tuna, which happens to be the favorite food of the orcas that live there. On that day in 2020, a pod approached a sailboat and rammed its rudder. At the time, it looked like a bizarre one-off. A strange story for sailors to tell in port. It wasn't a one-off, it was the beginning. Since then, the Atlantic Orca Working Group, a team of Spanish and Portuguese scientists monitoring this population, has logged hundreds upon hundreds of these encounters. Reports put the number of recorded interactions in the many hundreds across roughly 6 years. And at least 5 or 6 vessels have gone all the way down. But here's the detail that makes this so specific and so strange. The orcas are not attacking the boats at random, they go for the rudder. Think about what that means. Out of the entire hull of a vessel, they consistently target the one moving part on the outside. The piece that swings, that resists pressure, that responds when you push it. Sailors describe the same sequence over and over: a sudden jolt, the steering going dead, and then the water starting to come in through the damaged fitting. And the encounters can last a shockingly long time. Most run under 30 minutes, but some have gone on for up to 2 hours. 2 hours of a group of enormous animals working on the back of your boat while you can do nothing but wait. There's a famous account from one crew describing how it unfolded. 2 younger orcas worked on the rudder from behind, while a large adult repeatedly backed off and rammed the side of the boat at speed. And then something remarkable happened. The 2 young ones watched how the adult did it, and then copied the technique. Hold on to that detail, it matters enormously later. Now here's where it gets genuinely surprising. How many orcas are actually doing this? Not hundreds, not even 50. Researchers have identified roughly 15 individual animals responsible for these events. 15, and through photographic identification, studying the unique markings and dorsal fin shapes that distinguish each whale, scientists have named and cataloged them all. They know exactly which orcas are involved. They can tell you who showed up to which boat. Even more telling, the overwhelming majority of them are young. 13 of those 15 are juveniles, so the question becomes obvious. Why would a handful of teenage killer whales start systematically dismantling boats? Let's go through the theories, starting with the one that made all the headlines. Revenge. The story that spread across the internet was compelling. The idea was that a female orca had suffered a traumatic collision with a vessel and afterward began deliberately targeting boats, teaching the behavior to others as a form of retaliation. It's a dramatic narrative. It gives the animals a motive we instantly understand, and there is a grain of something behind it. Some of the orcas involved carry scars consistent with past encounters with propellers or fishing gear. These animals share their waters with fishing operations, shipping traffic, and pollution. Their lives are not undisturbed, but here's the problem. Most researchers who actually study this population do not think revenge is the answer, and the evidence doesn't really support it. If this were retaliation, you'd expect it to look like aggression. It doesn't. In 6 years and hundreds of encounters, not one person has been physically harmed by these orcas, not a single sailor injured. These are animals capable of coordinating hunts on much larger whales. If 15 orcas genuinely wanted to hurt the people on those boats, The outcome would not be a broken rudder. So what's the leading explanation instead? And this is where it gets fascinating. Orcas are among the most intelligent animals on the planet, with complex social lives and long childhoods. Young orcas, like young members of any highly intelligent species, explore their world by messing with it. And a rudder is, from an orca's point of view, an almost perfect toy. It's the only part of a boat that pushes back. Press it and it moves. Press it harder and it resists, then gives. There's feedback, there's a response. That's exactly the kind of object a curious, powerful, playful animal would find irresistible. The tragedy is simply one of scale. What is a gain to a creature weighing several tons is a catastrophe for a fiberglass rudder. The orcas may not be attacking at all. They may be playing with something that cannot survive being played with. But that raises one more question, and it might be the most important one. If this started with a few individuals, why did it spread? The answer is one of the most extraordinary things about this whole story: culture. Orcas learn from each other. They pass behaviors down through their pods, generation to generation. Different orca populations around the world have completely different hunting techniques, different diets, even different vocal dialects, learned rather than inherited. Some pods in Alaska and British Columbia coordinate to create waves that wash seals off ice floes, a technique taught and refined over time. So when one young orca discovered that rudders were fun, and others watched and copied, they weren't just imitating an action. They were spreading a behavior through their society, the same way a trend spreads through ours. Which means what we may be witnessing here is something very rare. A brand new cultural tradition appearing in a wild animal population in real time, documented from its first day. But there's a shadow over all of this, and it deserves to be said plainly. These are Iberian orcas, and they are critically endangered. The last full census counted only around 39 animals in the entire subpopulation. A 2026 study found that while the numbers appear broadly stable, the continuing decline in mature adults remains deeply worrying. Their future depends on whether the young females survive to have calves of their own. So the 15 troublemakers sinking yachts off Gibraltar represent a huge slice of one of the rarest orca populations on Earth. The animals making headlines for wrecking boats are, in reality, hanging on by a thread. And that's what makes this story so much bigger than a few damaged rudders. We're not watching a war between species. We're watching a small group of endangered, extraordinarily intelligent animals invent a game, teach it to each other, and accidentally sink our boats in the process. If this story fascinated you as much as it fascinates the scientists tracking it, hit that like button and subscribe to Wild Codex, because we uncover the untold stories of Earth's most fascinating creatures.